streaming?
Yep.
Who's here?
Garrett, Malik, Mariel, Destiny, Christian.
Okay. Hey guys, I'll be right back. Phil's mother just got taken to the hospital. So,
It's not good.
okay. Hi people, hope everybody's doing good today. Wednesday, and it's April 8th, and this is Com 171 for Teal College, and I'm Peg Watts, your loyal professor, here to talk to you once again about subjects under the umbrella of Introduction to Communication. So this year I guess I can turn my chill music off, right? I should do that. I will do that. Although I gotta say it does kind of keep me balanced and make me feel good. Music just has that effect, right? Music changes people's vibe, it changes their emotions. It can pump you up, it can chill you out. Music is good stuff. Anyway, I also really like the lo-fi hip-hop loft, but this is my funky meditation music. But it's good, it's calming, it's soothing, relaxing, gets rid of anxiety. There's a lot to be anxious about right now. Anyway, so backing up into what I was saying before. So this semester, just to kind of recap things, we've looked at the whole discipline, the field of communication studies. And it's funny because last night had a fun experience. I was on Google Hangout with my family back in New York. My daughter and her kids and her husband, Phil, and my son and his wife and their little girls, and my Aunt Mary Beth and my Uncle Tom and my Aunt Debbie. And so we were all having a great time on this meetup thing. It was great. I got it to work on my stuff. I couldn't use my adaptive software with it. I had to turn it all off. But once I got to it and I turned it all off, it was fine. So I didn't need everything to be big. But anyways, it was fun to do this. So my Uncle Tom, you have to realize too, my Aunt Mary Beth is like 3 years older than me. She's my mom's almost youngest sister, next to youngest. Debbie is her youngest. And she's younger than me. My mom was only 16 when she had me, so, and she was the oldest, so all my aunts are like my cousins. Anyway, so Tom is more or less my age, Mary Beth is as well. And Tom said, Peg, you know, when you say you teach communication studies, what does that mean exactly? And Tom's a brilliant guy. He's an artist. He's the director of the Southampton Historical Society. So he oversees like 12 historic properties that all have tours and events at them. There's museums and other cultural events that go on. And it's the Hamptons, honey. So they got deep pockets for that sort of stuff and they like it. So Tom is not an ignorant kind of guy. He knows, you know, I went to college and everything. He just didn't, you know, asked a legitimate question. What is this thing you call communication studies? What is it? Well, so I explain, it's a lot of things and it's everything. It's everything that we do. It's the most important thing. Nothing ever gets done without it. We can't be having what we're doing online without it. We can't have the chair I'm sitting on without it. We can't, everything starts with a thought. And, it starts with a thought, it becomes a form of communication in some way, and it turns into something. So communication, thought is the real seed, right? The thoughts that go on in your head. Once you turn that into words, into some form of communication, even not words, body language even. But once you do that, it changes everything. It nothing is the same as it was before you were communicated with about whatever it was. So communication changes the reality of that moment in the here and now, and it also creates things in a huge way. So he kind of got that. I hope you get that too, because I really want you to go away from this class understanding how important communication is. It's kind of a thing that we take for granted in our lives, that if you don't have good communication skills, it leaves you at a disadvantage in life. You can't explain yourself. You don't really fully understand and have clarity about what's going on in your universe and how you should react to it. So, not having good communication skills or understanding the process of communication is, taking for granted and ignoring something that's vital to our species, to all species. All evolution on this planet came about because of communication, because some organism, was struggling getting out of the water and started to consider things like, I see something there that has stubs that are moving. What are they, legs? I'd like those too. Like, everything starts with thought, everything. And that thought turns to communication, and then communication turns to things. Everything, bridges, buildings. You were a thought. And now you're a thing, because your parents communicated in a special way. Communication's so important. So he got that. But then, he wanted more, definition of what does this encompass? So everything from debate and rhetoric, right? Persuasive speaking and public speaking, things like that, to media communication, to mass communication, which media is a part of mass communication, to intercultural, interpersonal, all of the things, nonverbal communication. You guys have even learned about semiotics, and generally that's a big field of study over in Europe. A lot of colleges don't give it as much attention as it really should have, because they're cultural signs and symbols of our language, of our thoughts, right? They give more information and depth and meaning to a scenario, a situation, than words even can sometimes, because they're iconic. They're in an instant. The moment you see that thing, you recognize what it stands for. You don't need the words. So, we studied semiotics a little bit. So, when I explained to him that it was all of that, plus public relations and advertising, part of persuasive speech, like all of this falls into communication, then he got it. And now he has a kind of a new understanding, and I guess maybe respect level for the discipline. It's funny, at a lot of colleges in the United States especially, students who study communication aren't as revered as the ones who are studying, chemistry or pre-med or philosophy, social sciences, and those kinds of disciplines, or you wouldn't have the same respect going on. And that's a shame, because this is such a fundamental aspect of our existence, to not pay attention to it and recognize its importance in liberal arts and education, in the development of our species, us evolving further, moving forward to be better and better and better. All of that relies on communication. So oftentimes, this is a major that gets a little dumped on. It doesn't get the kind of, especially media communication, somehow people must see that we're having kind of a good time doing it, and the fun negates the importance of it. Because it's fun, you can't take it seriously, right? But oftentimes people who aren't really thriving in the major that they chose to begin with at a college or a university will be like, encouraged to check out communications, as if we're sort of an elephant's dumping ground for students who can't manage another field of study. However, if you're in this discipline, you know that we have a lot of work and research that we have to do in preparation for things. There's a lot of writing, and just to think about the final project that you guys are doing based on health communication and persuasive speaking on chapters 13 and 14. Just that right there. You think about all of the things that you have to do to prepare for this little 2-minute public service announcement video. You have to get verifiable sources of information, and put it together in a cohesive way that others will understand the crux of your message and go away changed from it. So that's not an easy thing to do. You could write a 20-page research paper on all of this if you want to. And hats off to people who are doing research on things like vaccines or medical improvements or engineering or any of the things that they do. But what we do in communication studies is just as important as any of those other things, because the advances in medicine and science and building and social sciences and all those things can't happen without communication. And understanding how communication works is really important. So just kind of giving you a little bit of a walk down the path of what we've been through with this course, and making sure that you understand the importance of it, because it is important. What you're doing here and what you're learning about is going to matter to the rest of your life. There'll be a situation where you are in a conflict conversation with somebody, and you'll just remember one of the things we talked about here, and you'll be like, oh yeah, if I try this, maybe that'll work, and then it does, and then you're like, oh, I guess it wasn't a waste of time to be in Professor Watts's class. Actually, I gotta turn this way while I do attendance, and then I'll turn it the other way so you could see my notes. But alright, so yeah, let's do that attendance thing. Let's go do that thing. Please post your name and hello.
Garrett,
Hi, Garrett.
Malik,
Hey, Malik.
Mariel,
Hi, Mariel.
Destiny,
Hey, Destiny.
Christian,
Hey, Christian.
Evan Young,
Hi, Evan.
Cameron,
Hi, Cameron.
Ashton,
Hello, Ashton.
Damien,
Hi, Damien.
Alex,
Hi, Alex.
Bradley,
Hi, Bradley.
Nick,
Nick, S,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alyssa,
Hello, Alyssa.
Bria,
Bria.
Olivia,
Olivia.
Kayla.
And Kayla. Did we say Bradley?
Yeah. And Chima.
And Chima. Hey, Chima. Okay, and I got Garrett. Just going. Damien, did we say?
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm old, you know. Oh, what about Jameen?
Don't think. No.
Jameen, if you're on the stream, post and let me know right now. Alright, well, I'm gonna save this then, and if I have to change it later on, like usual, which I always do, why do I even say this? Then I'll change it, because I'm flexible. How about you guys? Are you feeling flexible lately? Feeling like going with the flow of things? Like I said, I hope everybody's having a good day, and that you are getting your work done. There never is a lecture on Fridays for this class while we're online, because I pile you up with other work, and you do have reading to do, right? Chapter 13 and 14 for your final, and the PowerPoints that are posted, they're for your enjoyment. they're enjoyable. But anyway, you have those resources to start to pull together your outline, which is due next Wednesday, and you do have one forum assignment that a handful of you, I'd say actually a third of the class has gotten to, but the rest of you not so much, have not gotten to it yet. So you should do that, get that work done. Before I move forward with our notes today, I want to just ask if anybody has any questions, if everything is good, if you have anything you need to tell me. So just to sort of say it, because, why not? Like, I know that here on Twitch it's possible for outsiders to come bouncing into our classroom and try to cause a little bit of mischief, because, maybe they're bored right now. We're all a little bored right now. Maybe they don't understand, the human not need, but maybe they don't understand the human tenets, the humane tenets of being kind to one another, especially during a time like this. Like, they get their kicks out of being rude and obnoxious and saying nasty things and whatever. It's low intelligence thinking. It's very low vibration. Their energy must be really crappy. Wouldn't want to be around them anyway. But if they're here in the room and this is how they want to spend their valuable time here on Earth, is trying to cause some trouble, I'm going to be here as long as they want to. I don't care. And I don't care what they think about me either. Like, I'm a 60-year-old grandmother of 5. What the hell do I care what you think? Really? What do I care? I don't care. It's ridiculous to even think about. However, you'll be muted, and then you could be banned from the room because my pit bulls are on you. We've got John and Alex ready to moderate the chat, so if you want to hang around and be respectful, right on, good for you. If you're interested in hearing about mass communication and all of its components, that's what we're talking about for the next little while. But if you're going to cause trouble and be an obnoxious loser who has nothing better to do with their time but make other people, try to humiliate them or embarrass them in some way, first you'd have to actually care what someone, like, I don't care, so you can't do that to me. But yeah, if that's what you want to do, then you're just going to get muted or booted out. So go waste your time somewhere else, or sit back and relax and hear all about it. It's up to you. Okay, so done with that. And like I said, I know that John and Alex are on top of things, so it's kind of fun for me because I don't see the screen with the posts. I don't know what they're saying, and like, me, I don't care. So it's a waste of their time, but at the same time you're seeing it and it's a distraction for you, and that's kind of bothersome for me. Alright, anyway, so good reasons to study mass communication. Well, I think I just went through them all, or at least communication, period. But let's pick up the notes from here. Good reasons. So the media influences us in a very deep and profound way in our culture. The media have influence over important aspects of our lives, such as violence and our attitudes towards it, sexual socialization and just socialization to begin with. It affects childhood obesity, right? So a numbness to like being empathetic toward others. It has an effect that can happen if you're exposed over and over again to violent scenarios where there aren't a lot of real life consequences. You develop a sort of a callous numbness to those situations, and so then just hearing about your neighbors or somebody in your proximity in the news suffering in some way, you're not going to have the same empathetic communal response to that situation. So it also cheapening the democratic discourse and stereotyping gender and race. So it has the capacity to do all of those things, right? that's the negative aspect of media, and the dark side of the power and influence that all media has over us. So let's go through this again. What is media? Um, Mass communication is more than media, because mass communication is what I'm doing with you right now. Well, I'm using media for that. Never mind, bad example. Mass communication is kind of what I do when we're in class together and I stand in front of you, or what you get when you go to a concert or a comedy show or something like that. That's mass communication. Doesn't require any medium to distribute it, right? Media refers to a platform that's used to distribute communication in some way when it can't be face to face. So, everything from writing on clay tablets all the way to the computer is considered media in some way or another. And computers even have another distinction of being called mediated. When you're using a computer for communication, there's a little more of a complicated layer to it, and they distinct that away from regular media and refer to it as mediated communication. However, so the media consists of all these things that I've talked to you about: books, and the biggest communication leap forward, the biggest advancement in communication to this day, including the computer and the internet, is the printing press. When books were able to start to be mass produced, it caused people to become more literate because they had accessibility to knowledge and entertainment through the written word. So knowledge, information, entertainment, all that great stuff. So Gutenberg's printing press that came about in the mid 1400s was a huge leap forward for mankind. It was a huge leap forward in scientific understanding and the sharing of ideas. It's what caused the Protestant Reformation. All of these other things came about because of a communication device, right? Understanding about the human anatomy, about physics, all of these things started to be spread and disseminated throughout Europe and the literate world because of the printing press, because of communication. So, again, why do we study communication? Because it's just that important. Like, the thing that leaped us so forward as a species, that caused us to advance, is a communication device, the printing press. That's how important it is. All right, so books, magazines, newspapers, electronic media like movies and photographs and radio and television, and then digital, like and sound recording too, falls under electronic communication, and then digital, right? All of those, and then the other things in between too. But anyway, that's the media meat of mass communication. And media shapes our cultural values. It reinforces our cultural values. Right now in popular music as mass communication, we're talking about the 1960s. And there was never a time in history that music affected popular culture in the same way that it did in the 1960s. And that's because it was reflecting a lot of the social anxiety and the demand for change that young people were feeling at that time. So it can reflect and it can shape our cultural values. Media has the power to do that. The more normal somebody is to you, oftentimes comes from the fact that you see them on television. So for a long time, especially when I was growing up, women weren't doctors, they were nurses on television. And it was often, a joke, or people made fun of the fact that you're going to see a woman doctor, or they couldn't be as good or whatever. That started to shift and change when women became doctors on television. It started to change the perspective of the general public in terms of seeing women in that role. They couldn't imagine it in their own heads, but having somebody else imagine it for them and present it in a television show or a movie made it more possible for them to accept. So that's the power of media, right? That's the power of a photograph. That's the power of a television program or a news report or a newspaper article or a magazine, Time Man of the Year or Time Person of the Year. That kind of a distinction. It really reflects a lot of what we valued during that calendar year, a lot of what was important and what came up. So media does definitely shape our cultural values. Media shapes how we relate to each other. So we get a lot of our cues and tips as social beings on how to interact with one another by media, by the dissemination of communication through media. We hear love songs or friend songs or you can do it songs, that kind of thing, right? We read books about how to get along or have successful relationships with each other or how to relate to people from other cultures. We see that play out in movies and we see it play out in television. So a lot of different media reinforces and shapes how we relate to each other. And then media influences our own self-identification. So you see this especially in music. If somebody is into one subgenre of popular music, or if they're into a whole other kind of music like classical or jazz or something, it says something about who they are. It's self-identifying. And more importantly, if they've got a radio station playing in their office or their dorm room or in their car that reflects that genre that they like, it's like that's how they identify themselves. Say you like pop music and you like urban contemporary, like rap and hip hop and stuff like that. That says something about your likes and dislikes and who you kind of align yourself with in popular culture in our society. People who like to dance, people who like the beat, people who also want to talk about what's going on in their world in terms of social injustice or things like that too. But it says something about your experience or that you relate to these experiences that maybe people who are from inner city neighborhoods that are at risk for poverty or some other things, it says something about you that you like that kind of music and that you listen to that kind of a radio station. And you're kind of broadcasting to the world through that who you are. So it reinforces your own self-identity and it tells other people about who you are. So media is really that important. That's communicating without saying a word, once again. So interpersonal versus mass communication. So we know that interpersonal communication involves two or a few people, right? Interpersonal communication is a small group getting together. We talked about small group communication too. Don't forget that. You covered that this year. But so interpersonal communication is among two or a few people, and they have to have a level of intimacy. They have to, be familiar with each other to have an interpersonal relationship for that communication to happen. Mass communication can be from, a dozen people or 1 million people. So that's their definition there. Interpersonal communication is flexible and it's personal, right? Kind of give away with the word interpersonal, but that's the definition from the book, and it's true that it is. Interpersonal communication, you're constantly assessing the situation from the body language that you're getting from that one other person or the two other people that you're talking to, readjusting your approach to contributing to the communication. There's a fluidity going on. It's a flexible sort of interaction. And it's personal based on things you already know about the people that you're talking to. Mass communication is it's unalterable and it is not personal. So when you create a mass communication message, once it's out there, and it's not going to change because somebody else didn't like it out of like, you know, if we put this video up on YouTube and there's a handful of people who don't like it, that's not going to change the message, right? And I'm not going to adapt or adjust my message because a couple of people didn't like it. Maybe if the whole of everybody got back and said, then I might change the next video that I do. But the point is that you can't change it within the moment. Once it's out, it's out. Once the video is released, the post is published on Facebook, the thing is said over broadcast radio, the television program, the news report, the newspaper article is published. Once any of those things happen, it's unalterable. You can print a retraction, you can say that you're sorry, but we know from talking about communication that you can't unhear or unknow something. Once you know it or you hear it, you know it and you've heard it, and that changes you forever. From that moment forward, you're different. So, yeah, that's again the importance of mass communication and studying communication in general. So similarities between interpersonal and mass communication would be that both are symbolic. For example, the American flag at your uncle's funeral is the same as the American flag in a car commercial, but they can mean very different things, right? So that symbol is used by in an interpersonal way to signify a personal thing that happened, like a death or something like that. Like right now, my bushes out front of our house, they're little cedar trees. They're so cute. We have yellow ribbons tied around in honor of hoping for the day when we can all come out of our houses and be together again. So that's symbolic meaning right there, right? So an American flag draped, and it's interpersonal too. So an American flag draped over a coffin has a significance that's interpersonal. An American flag flying in the parking lot of a used car commercial has another meaning, right? It has a different connotation to it. Both are a little bit ambiguous. For example, Fox News might be interrupted differently might be interpreted differently depending on the viewer's personal political affiliation. So again, it's ambiguous and it's really subjective, and it's based a lot on your own personal cultural values, like your microcultural values that come from your families and your churches and your neighborhoods, not just the whole umbrella culture of the United States. And both take place in specific context to the environment, which is what I just said, right? It all depends on the environment you're in and the situation that you're in and where you come from prospectively, right? The commonality is being challenged as more and more people use mass media in interpersonal ways, like checking our smartphones during lunchtime with friends. So now we start to bleed this interpersonal communication with media communication. Well, we're doing that right now, right? I did that yesterday with my family on Google Hangout. Facebook is that. So again, it's much more complicated, the study of mass communication and the ethics and the responsibilities and the legalities that fall under, making media, creating public media for others to view. We have freedom of speech in this country. It's protected, right, by the Constitution. But that doesn't mean that we can yell fire in a crowded movie theater. You've heard that tired analogy a million times, but it's true. You can't get up and, hate speech causes conflict, and giving out false information intentionally can cause harm to the general public and public safety. So making ethical media matters, right? And that's up to the media makers. So if that's the career choice that you are thinking about, if that's the track that you're on in terms of, you know, what you're going to do with your life, whether you're going to, you know, whether you're studying filmmaking or audio production, or if you're learning about public relations and learning how to use all these different media platforms, you know, for the benefit of your client or getting the word out about something. Same with advertising. Any of these things, what it really boils down to is the ethics behind all of it. And that's why it's important to study it, because when you learn how it is that people absorb information and how it then transforms into behaviors and actions, you understand the power that this media universe has, and that communication in general has. Again, it creates everything. And so it's important to do it deliberately and to do it with an understanding of how it all really works. There's power in that. There's power in that for your future, and there's hope and help in that for our planet and for our species. So anyway, that's it for today. I hope you guys have a nice Easter and you get to enjoy some candy and egg coloring and silly things, and hope you're able to get out a little bit and enjoy some fresh air, and that you're respecting social distancing and isolating and washing your hands and taking good care of yourself. And I hope that you're loving the people that you're surrounded by and that they're loving you too. And I will talk to you on Monday. Don't forget about your outline and to read those chapters, and don't forget about the forum assignment that's still there. And miss you guys, and I'll see you on Monday.